Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today we're tackling a giant of American theater and film,
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Elia Kazan.
Oh, wow.
His life, his career.
This is gonna be good.
And what's really cool is we're going right to the source,
Even better. Lay it on me.
Kazan's own autobiography.
Elia Kazan. A life. Right.
That's the one.
Autobiographies are always so revealing, aren't they?
Yeah,
It's like getting a glimpse behind the curtain,
totally. You see the person.
not just the persona.
Exactly. The struggles,
The triumphs.
all the things that shaped their work.
And with Kazan, where do you even begin?
I know, right? The guy's life was anything but ordinary.
Understatement of the century.
From feeling like a total outsider to directing some of the most iconic plays and films ever made.
Talk about a journey.
I mean, we were talking Yale Drama School, the group theater, A Streetcar Named Desire, On the Waterfront. The list goes on.
Whew. Okay, so we gotta start somewhere. Where do we even begin with a life this big?
Well, to understand Kazan, you really have to go back to those early feelings of, like, being an outsider.
Yeah, I can see that.
He talks about it a lot in the book.
Does he?
Oh, yeah. Really open and honest about struggling with his foreignness, his appearance, just not feeling like he belonged. And it created this, like, deep sense of worthlessness.
Almost like a driving force.
Exactly. Like it fueled his ambition, this need to prove himself.
I can see that.
And, success didn't just come easy for him.
Oh, I bet it didn't.
He faced rejection early on at Yale Drama School,
Oh, wow.
even with the group theater.
Really?
Yeah, early on. Made him work harder, though, right?
That's silly.
Yeah.
Forged in fire kind of thing.
Totally. Those early setbacks, they forced Kazan to, like, hone his skills, find his own path.
Which ultimately led him to the group theater.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting.
The group theater. Now that's a name that carries weight.
I know, right? Such a pivotal period for him.
Like a breeding ground for talent.
Right. Some of the most talented actors and directors of that era all came out of there.
Yeah.
It was all about collaboration, wasn't it?
Totally. The group theater.
Yeah.
All about creating something new, exciting, pushing the boundaries of traditional theater.
Everyone working together, bouncing ideas off each other.
Absolutely. A true collective.
I love that.
Yeah. And, one of the key figures in Kazan's development during this time,
Go tell me.
Harold Clurman,
Okay.
co-founder of the group. He became a mentor to Kazan, guided his growth as a director.
So it sounds like a pretty supportive and inspiring environment.
It was.
But later on, Kazan becomes known for having a lot of control over his productions.
Ah, yes.
Kind of a contrast, isn't it?
Well, it is, but it makes sense if you think about it. Over time, Kazan gravitated toward what's called an auteur-like approach.
Okay. Auteur, like the French word.
That's the one.
So what does that even mean in, like, directing?
It's about having a strong vision and maintaining control over every aspect of the film. Casting, editing, the whole 9 yards.
So not so much about collaboration anymore.
Well, it's more like he's the captain steering the ship, realizing a personal artistic vision.
Gotcha.
The group theater fostered his early talent, but it seems like he eventually craved that individual control.
Yeah, makes sense. But we can't forget about the political climate of the time. The group theater had its own share of internal politics, especially with the influence of those Communist Party members.
Ah, yes. The communist cell within the group,
Definitely created tension.
particularly around place selection, you can imagine.
Oh, absolutely. And, I mean, it's got to shape his worldview, right?
Especially considering what was to come later in his career.
Oh, yeah. We can't talk about Kazan without talking about the elephant in the room.
The HUAC hearings.
Exactly. His decision to name names, it was a huge turning point, not just for his career, but for his relationships, too.
A time of fear and suspicion. The Red Scare. Hollywood was gripped by it.
Artists were blacklisted, careers destroyed.
A dark chapter, no doubt.
But before we get into all that, we got to rewind a bit.
Okay.
Before the storm hit, Kazan found success on Broadway.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Breakthrough successes, directing plays like Men in White.
And Awake and Sing.
Powerful stuff. Dealt with social issues, resonated with audiences.
Established him as a major force in American theater.
Paved the way for his move to Hollywood.
Now that's what I call a turning point.
From stage to screen. A big leap.
What was that transition like for him?
Well, he didn't just jump into directing films right away. Early on, he was adapting plays for the screen, like Golden Boy.
Interesting.
And during this time, he learned from some of the greats. experienced actors like John Garfield.
Oh, wow.
Known for his naturalism, intensity. Imagine the kind of knowledge Kazan must have soaked up working alongside these guys.
Like a masterclass in filmmaking.
Exactly. Taking his theatrical background, adding this new film experience, and boom, the ambition is brewing.
I can practically feel it.
All that professional drive, all that energy poured into his work.
It makes you wonder about his personal life, though, right?
Absolutely. The toll it all took.
Especially on his marriage to Molly.
Yeah, and that's actually a great place to pick up after a quick... Well, we don't have breaks, do we?
No, we just keep going.
Right into the heart of Kazan's personal life.
And all the complexities that came with it.
Buckle up. It's about to get even more interesting.
I can't wait.
So, Kazan's personal life...
Especially his marriage to Molly.
Yeah.
He doesn't hold back in the book, does he?
Not at all. He's very honest about his relationship with Molly, the deep love, the respect he had for her.
It sounds like she was incredibly strong.
She was his rock, offered unwavering support throughout their marriage.
Even when he,
Even during his infidelities, yes.
Wow. She sounds amazing. But knowing Kazan, his drive, his career...
It couldn't have been easy.
Did he ever talk about, the impact of his choices on their relationship?
He did. And what's so striking is he doesn't try to make himself out to be some kind of saint.
Right.
He owns his flaws, his mistakes, the pain he caused her. There's a passage where he describes feeling a sense of relief when they finally separated.
Relief.
It's like the weight of her expectations, the guilt he carried. It became too much.
That's heavy stuff.
It is. And it really makes you think about the price of ambition, right? The pressure of success.
And how it can affect the people closest to you.
Absolutely. And it's almost like this internal conflict he had.
What do you mean?
Well, he craved success, recognition, artistic fulfillment, but these things often came at the expense of his personal life. Like he couldn't reconcile those different parts of himself.
And almost like that echoes the moral dilemmas he faced later on, right?
Exactly. During the McCarthy era. We can't ignore that period in his life.
Definitely not. Naming names before HUAC, it was a defining moment. Not just for him, but for so many others.
It fractured relationships, led to accusations of betrayal.
And definitely cast a long shadow over his legacy.
For sure. But we got to remember the context, right? The Red Scare.
Oh, yeah. It was a crazy time.
Fear, paranoia, everywhere. HUAC was going after anyone suspected of communist affiliations.
No one was safe.
Artists were blacklisted left and right. Careers destroyed just like that.
A really dark chapter in American history.
It was.
And Kazan's decision to cooperate with HUAC to name names, it was beyond controversial.
Absolutely. It divided people. Some saw it as self-preservation.
Others, betrayal of his friends, his principles.
It's complicated. History rarely offers easy answers.
Yeah, it's all tangled up.
Motivations, consequences, it's all intertwined.
And Kazan's story really reflects that.
It does. But even with all that controversy swirling around him...
He kept directing.
He did. Films that explored so many different genres, styles.
He even started working on more personal projects, right?
Like America.
Based on his family's immigration story.
That's the one. It's such a powerful film.
Really dives into those universal themes. Displacement, assimilation, the whole pursuit of the American dream thing.
You can really sense how personal this project was for him, a way to connect with his heritage.
And maybe even grapple with those feelings of being an outsider that he struggled with early on.
Exactly. It's fascinating to see how his filmmaking evolved.
Yeah, from those theatrical roots.
He really embraced cinema's power to tell stories in a whole new way.
And his work with actors, incredible.
He had a gift, that's for sure.
Marlon Brando in Streetcar, James Dean in East of Eden.
Raw, powerful performances.
Yeah.
Groundbreaking.
It was like a new level of emotional honesty on screen.
And we can't talk about Kazan and acting without mentioning the Actors Studio.
Oh, yeah. A legendary institution.
Kazan, Lee Strasberg, they developed these techniques.
Encouraged actors to really tap into their own experiences, emotions, memories.
To create believable characters.
Revolutionized American acting, really.
Influenced generations of actors.
So here we have Kazan, shaped by those early feelings of inadequacy, driven by ambition, wrestling with these huge moral dilemmas.
And pushing the boundaries of theater and film the whole way.
What a life.
And his autobiography really gives us a glimpse into all of it. His mind, his creative process, the ups and downs.
We've covered so much ground. His early struggles, the breakthroughs, the McCarthy era, his relationship.
His evolution as a filmmaker. But there's still more to uncover.
There is.
Oh, yeah. In the final part of our deep dive, we're going to look at Kazan's later years. His thoughts on aging, success, his evolving views, and of course, his connection to his family, his heritage.
All right, looking forward to it.
Oh, and one more thing. We'll also touch on that lingering question.
The big one.
Can we really separate an artist's work from their personal choices?
A question that's still debated today.
And Kazan's story provides a unique perspective on this complex issue. Stick with us as we unpack the final chapters of this remarkable life, Kazan's later years. Quite a shift in perspective, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you can really feel it in the book, like a sense of, reflection. Taking stock of his life, the choices he made.
He really opens up about the compromises, the sacrifices.
The toll it all took.
Especially on his personal life, his relationships.
It's clear that the HUAC stuff, naming names, it really weighed on him.
Oh, absolutely. Haunted him for years. He understood the impact, the consequences, but he also talked about the pressure, the fear that was so prevalent at the time, a lot of difficult choices being made.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About the choices we make when faced with overwhelming pressure.
Yeah, it does. But even with all that, his love for his work shines through.
Yeah, you're right. Even in his later years, there's this energy when he writes about the creative process, working with actors, discovering new talent.
He just loved it.
It reminds me of what we talked about earlier, those raw, emotionally charged performances.
His trademark.
Think Streetcar, Waterfront. Those films are unforgettable.
They are. And they still resonate with audiences today. Why? Because they tapped into those universal themes: love, loss, betrayal, the struggle for identity.
All the big stuff.
Exactly. And Kazan had this way of presenting these themes with such honesty.
Unflinching honesty.
Which could be both captivating and unsettling.
Yeah, he wasn't afraid to show the darker side of human nature, the messy, complicated stuff.
Which is interesting because his own personal life was often a reflection of that.
Yeah, his relationships, especially with women. So much passion, but also infidelity, this constant yearning for connection.
It's all there in the book. He doesn't shy away from any of it.
It's like he's saying, this is me, take it or leave it.
And that honesty, that vulnerability, it's what makes his story so compelling.
It reminds us that even the most accomplished people, they're still human.
With all the same flaws and desires, still searching for love and meaning, just like the rest of us.
So where does that leave us after this deep dive into Kazan's world?
I think his story challenges us to look beyond simple judgments.
To see the complexities, the contradictions.
To recognize that life rarely offers easy answers.
And maybe for you listening, it's a reminder that none of us are perfect. We all make choices we may regret. But those choices, those experiences, they shape us.
They make us who we are. And in the end, that's all we can really ask, right? To learn from our mistakes, to grow, and to strive to leave the world a little better than we found it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the life and career of Elia Kazan.
A giant of American theater and film. A complex figure, no doubt.
But one whose work continues to provoke, to challenge, and to inspire.
So keep exploring, keep asking questions.
And keep diving deep. We'll see you next time.